We refer to our students as scholars because we have higher expectations for our scholars. In the middle school, we strive to ensure that they are critical thinkers. They become independent. They are able to self-advocate. They are able to have a clear understanding of their goals and set goals. Each individual scholar is different and requires different needs.
其实分程教学是完全根据学生个体的学习需要来进行设置的。那么我们每一门学科都会分成3个小组，有初阶、进阶和高阶。那他们有可能是在数学的初阶、英文的高阶，或者是语文的中阶。
We are meeting the scholars where they are. It's not honors versus regular ed. It's just a process of building on. By the time they're in the advancing group, we're teaching them how to think. Rigor here at Huawer is not doing something 20 times or having 5 hours of homework. Rigor is thinking critically, thinking deeply about questions, and in turn asking those questions so that scholars can deepen their understanding that way.
The biggest problem, I think, with education today is when students learn knowledge in math. They haven't got an idea of where and when it can be applied in the real world, and again the same with science and arts. So the idea of this subject is to help students understand that in the real world all these subjects interconnect and they work together, and we facilitate this by giving the students meaningful projects. And rather than learning information, just remembering that information for exams, they master those skills by actually building artifacts.
Bob 呢，从小是在上海长大的，他小学读的是平和的国际部。那6年级的时候呢，我们去了美国，读了一间顶级的美国私立学校。当时也是疫情，我们就回来了。到了华尔昆山之后呢，我觉得明显能感觉到他对学习更在意了，因为他的周围有很多小朋友呢，他们的学习习惯很好，所以呢，他们会对 Bob 有一些潜移默化的影响。从能力的培养来讲，我觉得华尔昆山，他能做到的，其实我们去比较在美国的私立学校。已经是非常非常接近了，对孩子的一些沟通能力啊，做 presentation 的能力啊，去做 project-based learning。这种项目管理，就算是我们以前在500强企业，也都是进了公司之后才开始一点点的学习。但是他们现在能够在初中甚至小学阶段，他就开始这样学习，这是一个对孩子来说，非常好的一个能力的培养。
My favorite sport as a kid was basketball, and when I went to America, I played my junior varsity A team in my school. I really appreciate our Life Block program because it really taught us something. We would have 1 or 2 classes every semester instead of having a different class every day. I entered the high school basketball team. I had a lot of friends, I had a lot of competitions. I became a better player. I became stronger, physically stronger, mentally stronger.
At America, we basically learn simple maths and also other language, but I think the language is a simple question. But when I switched in China, the math is extremely got very difficult. So at that time, my teachers kind of helping me every classes during the arithmetic time. 来到这所学校以后呢，我就发现我可以随时随地找导师，而且导师对应的人数并不是很多，有充足的时间问导师一些问题，和导师进行交流。然后比如说我自己学术方面的一些问题，我导师就会主动找到我。
Because every advisor has a small group instead of a really large group of students, so we know each student really well, we know their personalities. We meet about 10-15 minutes every morning, and then every Monday we have a large group gathering as a community hall. And the teachers don't feel overwhelmed because they don't have too many students, and then they can make sure they maintain this communication with the parents, so the parents always know what's going on and what's happening with their child.
我对于一个学校的评价，不光是评价它在于课程上，我的儿子要考到多少满分，这不是唯一评价的标准。我更在乎的是一个孩子在这里是不是身心上能够获得更加健康的、积极向上的心态去发展。而在这个学校里面，我的孩子在这里得到了各种的鼓励，帮助他能够健康的，能够把自己的特长也能发挥出来，淋漓尽致吧。
做任何事情呢，你如果以终为始的话， 他都不会错的。上大学它是一个节点，如果在很早的时候，我可能就帮他规划，因为我自己没有海外留学的这个背景，那我可能很难帮他做很好的规划。那我需要教育集团呢，本身它有这种资源，包括校内的，包括校外的。迪邦呢，因为它有10几年的海外的老师的招聘经验，那么我想他没有理由没有很好的老师给到本校生，特别是遇到疫情这种重大的意外的情况的时候，他的外教的团队会得到很好的保障。另外呢，选择相信迪邦集团，因为它的教育资源，它的一些竞赛，我比较感兴趣的，比如说是 ISDA 呀，孩子能够参与到这种竞赛里面去的话，他会得到一些提升，他对未来的升学背景都有很好的一个加持。
Everyone has a hand in the success of each scholar. It's not just one person, it's not just the teacher, it's not just the counselor, but it's also the parent. And so we're a community or a village of people that are supporting our scholars to get them to the next level and ultimately be prepared for what the world has to offer.